Telarus was born from a need. The need to transform. "18 years has passed, and our legacy of pushing the limits, of innovating, has created enormous growth, both for Telarus, but most importantly, for our partners. The fruits of that labor were more personal in nature. Seeing our partners transform their businesses by accepting our invitation to sell outside their standard offerings. It's a feeling of fulfillment and joy that hits deep and fuels our drive.
We've declared 2020 to be the year of transformation, dedicating ourselves to helping you transform your business. Transformation to us means much more than just transforming businesses. It means transforming our company culture to be more giving, transforming our communities,
and even transforming our bodies. I was unexpectedly invited to climb Kilimanjaro, one of the 7 summits of the world. It's the year of transformation, so of course I said, absolutely not. Not a chance. I have every excuse. I'm not in shape, I've had injuries, I don't have the time. I remembered in 2018, we brought my friend James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy, to inspire us at Telarus Partner Summit.
Because when things become the hardest, they need to become the easiest because we've mastered the basics.
Where he shared his story of transforming himself physically, mentally, and emotionally to complete a feat of endurance never before accomplished. 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 states. As I started to weigh an opportunity like this against my excuses, this is something that doesn't come along very often. I got a little upset with myself. What growth am I forfeiting? By me staying comfortable where I am, what am I missing out on? What life-changing moments and lessons are waiting for me at the top of the mountain? I knew if I was going to do this, I would have to commit myself. I'd have to train hard. While not a technical climb, climbing Kilimanjaro is no joke. Standing at over 19,000 feet, it's the tallest freestanding mountain on the African continent, taking climbers through 5 different ecological zones. Due to the climb and the thin air at that altitude, the success rate is only 66%. And to add to the challenge, many take 10 days to accomplish this. We're doing it in 5. We're at the Morongo Gate where we just ate lunch, and man, I needed that. We're just in preparation to leave here in probably the next 10 minutes. The porters have already headed up ahead of us with all of our gear on their backs, covered in tarps just in case it rains, and I suppose we'll catch up with them later. But interesting lunch. We actually sat and ate with two gentlemen that did not make the final ascent, and they described the experience for us, gave us a lot more of what they wish they had done a little bit better, more water, better sleep, but honestly not super inspiring to sit and listen to somebody's failure story. Unfortunately, as I set out on day one, my mind is wondering if my body is going to be able to handle it. This jungle climb is a different terrain than what I have trained on, and is more like climbing stairs than hiking. My hips are on fire, and so doubt has crept in because this is the first time I've done something this physical since my hip surgery 5 years ago. All right, we're ready for day 2 climb. We've got our porters here behind us that are gonna do all the hard work for us today, carrying up our packs, and they're just getting ready to go and head out ahead of us. We're headed towards the ROM Hut. Today will be about 8 miles. We'll ascend about 3,200 feet. Obviously take us around 6 hours, they tell us to do all of that. So we made it to the end of day 2. We're here at the ROM Hut, just over 12,000 feet. Today for me was a day about gear. We went through a lot of different weather. It got hot for a while when the sun was out, threatened rain, and we had to change there. Today I also relied a whole lot on my watch. The tools and things that are available to me there were very important. To be able to look at and see how far I've come already, and then to look and set expectation for how much further I still had to go was very, very helpful mentally, just to know, hey, I'm halfway there. I've got 2 more miles to go. The other big benefit was to be able to look at my heart rate and other metrics to just see how hard I'm working, to see what kind of output I have, and be able to make adjustments, either work harder or maybe back off for just a few minutes and recover.
So here we are, base of Mount Kilimanjaro, right there. And Kylie and I planned this trip almost a year ago, and I invited about 40 people to come. 20 of those people said yes.
I said no.
Richard said no.
Well, candidly, this is really the first big challenge thing I've done in the 5 years since I had hip surgery. And for somebody that kind of grew up with sports and competition as being such a big part of who I was, I kind of just had the realization that I was ignoring. I'd set aside a part of who I am. And so today I'm actually wearing the marathon shirt from the day that everything fell apart and my wheels came off. But you know, I've spent a lot of time thinking back to well, this day, and I ran a bit in high school, didn't really run in my 20s, and every year I was getting faster through my 30s, you know, and I got to where I was placing in races in my age group, and got to where me qualifying for Boston was a real clear, not easy, but it was going to happen kind of thing. A few weeks before the race, I started to feel some pain in the front of my hip, and just tried to ignore it and use medication and different things to work through it. Race day came, and I ran the first half marathon portion in an hour and a half, which is, you know, significantly ahead of Boston qualifying time.
Nice.
And then it turns and goes significantly uphill, and with that pulling on the labrum, which is the part of the hip, my leg just went numb, and I really couldn't run anymore. I had shooting pain all the way down through my leg, and my wife, who was running in the race, caught up to me at about mile 16, and we would walk and run for a little while together. Made it mile 21, and I said, you know what, just go on ahead of me. There's no reason for you to ruin your race day. Why don't you go ahead? And at mile 24, I woke up on the side of the road.
You passed out?
I had passed out. I actually couldn't speak, but in that moment they took 2 roadside EKGs. The first one, they didn't like what they saw. The decision was made that I couldn't finish, and they ambulanced me off the course, and I haven't ran since, and running had been such a big portion of who I was. And you know, as I said at the beginning, just kind of ignoring that portion and saying, hey, I can't do this, rather than focusing on the things I can do, which hiking is certainly one of those things. And so I've reflected a lot today, and as many things as I can't do, I'm just glad I had a friend who kept pestering me in a nice, polite way, kept after me and challenging me and saying, are you sure? Because I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to just be living this experience. And so thank you just very, very sincerely. I hope that you know how much that this experience has meant to me.
Well, we made it to ROM Hut. We covered about 6.5 miles, over 3,200 feet. We're currently sitting at 15,200 feet. We only have a few hours until we have to wake up at midnight and set out in the dark of night in the very, very cold. And so we've got a lot of work ahead of us.
It'll take us 10 hours to summit. There's a lot of time out here to think, to reflect. I've thought about all kinds of things, my work, my family, my church, myself. You feel small in these moments. I felt the weight of what I was doing. I knew that it was up to me to take the steps, to put one foot in front of the other. But then I thought about all the people cheering me on, about the porters ready to carry my pack if I couldn't, about my family waiting for my safe return. Wherever we are, whatever we are doing, we have to take the steps on our own, but we are never alone. As I was approaching the summit, somehow a text from my daughter snuck through. In that moment, all the sacrifices to get ready were worth it. My past failure was erased, and I was left with only gratitude, jubilation, and love. None of this would have been possible if I hadn't taken the chance, taken the opportunity to quit saying no.